Welcome to Fortune Cookies Tarot. This is Taste of Tarot. Let's learn the cards. Um, Again, this is my interpretation of the cards. I strongly recommend that you look in the first video where I advise all of you to learn the academic meanings, find the ones that resonate with you, label your cards, and then start to work with them. It's really important to get a sense of the cards, have a little bit of academics involved in there, but to find the academic meanings that work for you. The cards will fall into place, I promise you. So we're going to look at the aces. The aces. We're looking at the swords. Swords are an air energy. So this is our intellect. These are truth cards. Can be, a lot of legal stuff. If you have people that ask legal questions about, legal matters, we'll see the swords a lot of the time in those. So we have our Ace of Swords, which is the beginning. Finding your voice. You can be finding your voice. I know all of you that follow me know how much I love saying find your voice. Creating the words that you're going to speak, creating the message that you're going to send out. Two of Swords. For me, this is always making a decision out of two tough choices. Again, we're scratching the surface. These are just overview of the cards. I do much more in-depth education in my class. So the Two of Swords, two decisions. Swords always are cutting. Swords can cut off, they can dissect, they can split. So we want to make sure that we use their message carefully. This is the toughest card in the deck. All right, this is a rough card. Everyone's afraid of the Death card. Everyone's afraid of the Devil card. This is the one you should be afraid of. This is heartache, loss, miscarriage, abortion. It can be, did I say death? It can be death. This is having your heart broken into a million pieces. This is really the intellectual understanding of how your emotions were crushed is what you need to know with this one. The good news is when it's upside down, you're moving through it. So we get this with like a Five of Cups, the Depression card. Yeah, you're in for a rocky ride. So, if you're doing a reading and you get this, I definitely recommend doing some clarification and seeing if you can, or storytelling. We'll go over storytelling in a reading in one of how to do a storytelling reading in one of my videos. So, you get something like this, you want to give somebody some positive vibe on it. Keep pulling cards until you find something positive for them, because they're in for a rough go. Four of Swords. Now, this character in here is either the soldier who is sleeping and resting. In the Llewellyn deck, I find that he looks like he is resting. In the Rider-Waite deck, he definitely looks like he is dead. So this is taking some time out to contemplate, taking a break, going into that social or intellectual coma so that you can make some considerations. It's really important to note in this card where the swords are, and in different decks there are different placements of the swords. There are three swords hung up. Now this is intellect and thinking. Remember, those three swords are putting some things aside, putting some things that you have to think about aside, hanging them up on the wall, focusing on the matter that affects you the most. Now, we're all the same color here, right? Right. So this is the thing that matters the most. Stop thinking about everything. Just concentrate on what's at hand. Five of Swords. This is post-battle, okay? We're looking at a battle here. Now, consider the image. He's holding two swords. Why would you be holding two swords after a battle? Spoils of war. And he is taking a third, and there are two on the ground. So the question here, keeping in mind that the swords are intellect and truth, um, is the truth cast on the ground? Is what he's doing just? Should he have all those swords? Who knows? The fives are always a pivotal point. They are conflict and change. So you want to have some questions here. What exactly is going on here? We're going to get, he develops into the Seven of Swords. We'll see him in a minute. Six of Swords. This is moving on, moving forward to a place of security. Now, the sixes are a stability card. We'll go over this when we go through the numerology. Sixes are a stability card. They kind of put us on a firm ground. This is getting out of a bad situation, correcting that bad situation, and getting to a good place. Refugee of life. You are refuging into a much better place, whether it is, out of a bad relationship, out of a bad job. This is going to a better place, okay? Reframing, fleeing, improving your situation. So here is where our dude from the Five of Swords develops into. This is what Alicia Wicker calls a sneaky snacker. And in different decks, he is depicted differently. In the Llewellyn deck, he's climbing up a mountain or climbing down from a mountain, and there's a tent there. We don't know if he stole the swords or he's bringing the swords. No one can tell. Same with this guy. There's tents in the background. You can see the tents. We don't know if he is just hanging out in the field with the swords or if he's sneaking away. This deck feels like he's sneaking away. He is handling the swords by the blades as well. So there's some level of trickery here. He is being handling intellectual matters with deft fingers. Let's put it that way. So this is a shady McShadester is what I always call them. We don't know what he's up to. This is somebody who is tinkering around with your intellect, tinkering around with words, word salad. That may be word salad that he has in his hands, but definitely somebody who is not on the up and up. Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is another card where we see the swords are planted in the ground. This is firmed up thinking. So if the swords are intellect and ideas and truth, they are jammed into the ground and not moving and creating a prison for the gal in the card. She is blinded. She is barefoot. She is bound up, but loosely so. Better depicted in some other decks. The Dark Mansion Tarot that I read with, she's actually really cool. She has a red dress on, and the dress is held in place by the swords, and the wind is blowing her hair over her eyes as a blindfold. She's more loosely bound in that deck. But this is someone who is paralyzed and restricted by their own thoughts and by their own doing. This is somebody who has created a prison for themselves, and they can get out of it. All they have to do is untie your knots. What about Bob reference? So untie your knots and just walk out of the situation. Maybe pull one of those swords out and be a little bit more flexible about your thinking. Nine of Swords. It's a tough one. This is our anxiety nightmare. So somebody who is really, really, really having a tough time sleeping because they are just thinking. All of those thoughts, all of that truth, all of those ideas are just hanging over their head, precariously waiting to fall on them while they sleep. That's why they can't sleep, because the ideas are just floating above them. And this is the done card. This is when all of that thinking, all of that processing has finally gotten the best of you, and you're just cooked. You ever think about something to the point where, like, you just don't know what to do anymore? That's this card. That's where you get stuck. This is, overthinking to the point where you are just overwrought and cannot move any further. And we're on to our pages. So the swords are an air power, and the pages are earth. So this is an earth air vibe to this card. This particular combo leans into finance. So our financial advisors can be swords, can be represented by our court cards. So this is somebody who is thinking in terms and again, I'm going to say it, pentacles are usually the fundamentals of money and finance and those sorts of things. But the page is the guy who's clever. This is the guy who's doing the investment, who's creating the opportunity to get more pentacles in your pocket. So, he is on his way to questing for finance, or I'm sorry, questing for philosophy. So, let me get him down here. Ooh, where's our? Come on, focus, camera, focus. I can't get it to focus. There we go. So now here's our knight who is focusing, who's questing for knowledge, philosophy. Our page doesn't know much, but wants to know. Our knight is actually studying and going to school. Now, again, here's our speed quality. The air cards, this is an air and fire card. He is moving rapidly. Look at his horse. His horse is flying mile a minute. Very different from our Knight of Pentacles, who is firmly rooted in the ground. So this guy is moving a mile a minute. Sometimes not thinking. So sometimes not thinking before he speaks. Now, the swords can also be communication. This guy sometimes thinks before, or speaks before he thinks, doesn't think long enough, so be mindful of him. And here's our Queen of Swords. She is nurturing intellect. This is the philosopher mom, the professor mom, someone who reads a great deal, who has a lot of knowledge, who is great at trivia games, and is good counsel. She is a good counsel. The queens are water sign or water value, and the swords are an air value. So we get that effervescent, uplifting, bubbly sensation with her. But they are not the best at nurturing crybabies, or if you are very sad, nurturing you. They're much better at helping you get from A to B. So if you were in high school and trying to pick a college, you would want one of these Queen of Swords to be your guidance counselor and get you from A to B. And then we have our Philosopher King. Okay. This is very wise, very smart, leaders of corporations that are making great decisions. That's this card. Definitely taking philosophy and education and knowledge into great value. It's an air quality, so it's a lickety split, quick moving thing. Fast decision makers, super intelligent. Maybe not entirely engaging, but sometimes engaging. So these guys can be boring sometimes with the amount of intelligence they have. So that is it for the suit of swords. We're going to talk about numerology next.